Thursday, July 14th, 2022 to order. Can we all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance together? Thank you. Janie, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Jeff Capel.
Here.
Councilwoman Jill Cole.
Here.
Councilman Lee Zerwanka.
Here.
Councilman Brian Gath.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pramod Javeri.
Here.
Councilwoman Katie Schneider.
Here.
Mayor Mark Cirkin.
Here.
7 present.
We're going to have a public hearing tonight for the consideration of the 2023 tax budget.
Do
That's
we need to
resol-
accept the agenda first?
Huh?
You're ahead.
Did we not do it all in favor?
Accept the
Accept the
agenda
agenda.
first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. We have a public hearing, consideration of the 2023 tax budget. That's resolution 2022-34. And David's just going to give us a very quick reminder.
I didn't know if you were going to announce the public welcome to come and all.
I can do that.
What's that?
If there's anybody here that wants to speak about the proposed tax budget for 2023, there will be time to do it just in a moment. So
Sounds good. So just a quick overview. This is an annual, very rote process, very high level. Not a ton of work goes into it, but I just thought this year I'd take the opportunity to plant some seeds for discussion later this fall when we do a more detailed budget. As you saw in the memo, revenue continues to hang in there, not surprisingly. Refunds are up, but considering where we could have been, we still feel pretty blessed and stable. Of course, there's appears to be some headwinds coming into next year. Inflation continues to be a problem. Interest rates might be a financing issue for us. And then, of course, recessionary concerns. So something that not surprising, I hope, to anyone in this audience that we need to be thinking about. Related to that, some big capital item, because it's something that comes up from time to time. When are we going to do the dog park, pickleball, all kinds of stuff? And just want to plant the seed. We will have to go through a prioritization process. You've got the town square project. We've been building up some inertia for, but we've communicated to you that construction costs have gone up, 20, 30+% since we started this process a year ago at this time. So it may, in fact, be competing against other things you want to do if we're going to do that. Another project that is rapidly, unfortunately, moving to the forefront on our list that we would need you to consider is the golf maintenance building. It's certainly not the sexiest thing, not a whole lot of bang for the buck, so to speak, but it's something we've been hunting for a number of years, but there's some degradation issues and structural issues, and we may not be able to avoid them much longer. Good news with that is we did pay off the Cooper Creek bond just in December. So that first 10 years, I'm sorry?
No, it's paid off.
Paid off, yeah, last December. So we have some bonding capacity there. We will pay off the rec center this year. So we'll have a little bit of capacity, just might be at 3-4 times the interest rate than when we were borrowing money back in the day at 0.75 was pretty awesome then. Some other projects, the pool, tennis courts, people want to do that. I can see it getting queued lower, but if you want to prioritize that, that's going to compete against Town Square and some other thing. And then, as I said, the pickleball dog thing, the hangar out at the Summit Park. We've for years talked about that on and off. We're starting to have some conversations about would we renovate that hangar and have a cool little fun brew pub or something in there. So that's something you'll want to put into your hopper, and we'll have those conversations. So nothing to be decided or discussed tonight, just planting that seed that the want list is getting big, and the ability to handle might be under pressure over the next year or two. Good news, we continue to build revenues, surprisingly, even during the the COVID year. So that's where we're at. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. But as I said, this process at this point, real general and broad, and we didn't plug in any particular funding plan as part of this process.
Okay, I'm going to open up to the public. If anybody would like to speak on this issue only, which is the proposed tax budget for 2023, with the understanding that Sherry is really good at this, and is very accurate and conservative. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. Does council have any questions or any comments? Seeing none, I'll close the council, and we'll move on. Do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 9th, 2022.
So moved.
Second is,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Communications to council. Jamie, do we have anything?
There are none tonight, Your Honor.
Reports from outside agencies. I do not believe I see anything. The mayor's report will be entered into the public record for June of 2022. Do I have a motion to accept the financial report from June of 2022?
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move to hearings from citizens. If you wish to speak, please approach the microphone and state your name and address. If you have any materials to pass out, please give them directly to the clerk of council. Please keep your comments as brief as possible to allow others a chance to be heard. Hearings for citizens is for us to listen to you and your neighbors. It's unlikely we will make any remarks immediately after you speak. At the clerk of council will notify you when 3 minutes is passed, and at that point, please wrap up your presentation. Let's all treat each other calmly with respect. Nicholas, I know you want to speak.
Yeah, so my name is Nicholas Kashyap. My name is Nicholas Kashyap and address too, right? Yeah, 11986 Carrington Court. And I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 209, which is chartered by the Blue Ash Civic League. I'm here to share some information about an Eagle Scout project I'm leading to restore Sweetwood Garden at Blue Ash Elementary. This garden used to be a great spot for elementary students to grow their own vegetables and learn about gardening and natural science. But over the years, it's faced a lot of wear and tear, and it's right now overrun by a lot of weeds. So the goal of my project is to take down the current garden and design and build a new one to replace it, so that we can continue the experiences that Sweetwood Garden has provided for many of BAE students, parents, and staff. We are currently trying to raise funds for the project, and we've already received funds from the Blue Ash PTO and also the community, but it's only covered about half of our budget so far. First off, if you haven't already, you can please try to donate to the project. We started a GoFundMe called Rebuild Sweetwood Garden at Blue Ash Elementary, and that you can search it up on GoFundMe.com. And we need more donations. If you aren't able to donate right now, that's fine. You can try to send it to others you may know who may be interested. And also, if the council can circulate information about the project to the Blue Ash businesses and the community as well, that would really help us out. Most of the information about the garden and the project, it's on the GoFundMe, and we also have a 3D rendering and an animated video of the new garden. And also, as a BAE alumni myself, this is kind of a personal project to me, so I really hope it'll run smoothly and work out in the end. If you're just as interested in the project as me, audience members just in general, and also if you want to in the council, you can volunteer and help us out build the new garden. We plan to start sometime at the end of this month. Obviously before school starts, because we don't want to do it when the kids are there. But yeah, we're going to start by the end of July. I also have some copies of the new garden layout. So if the council or anyone else is interested, I can hand those out. I also want to thank Mr. Gath for giving me the opportunity to speak here and giving me the idea to present about this project. And thank you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. And thank you for caring enough to do this project. This is something that everybody gets to enjoy for a long time, and I hope you'll be proud of it when you're done. I don't know, do we all get the link? Because if you don't, I'll send it out to everybody. Okay, so they'll get it, and we'll send it to Rachel, who's our public relations person, and hopefully we can get you some advertisement. Thanks a lot, Nicholas. Anybody else would like to speak tonight? Mr. Nord.
My name is Peter Nord, and I live at Kenridge Lake. I have the most sympathy for the Boy Scouts and their battle with the weeds up there at the school. I have a nice sized garden in my backyard and my hoe is razor sharp. And by the time I've knocked the weeds down from one end to the other, they've started back stronger than ever. And I'm almost to the point where I'm going to start chemical warfare. With my background in chemistry, I think I can be successful, but I'd like to avoid it. I was in business in Blue Ash for all of my life. When I was a little kid, I was dragged off to the factory on Saturdays and told to work. And when I was even littler, before you could get a work permit, my father used to take me to the factory at night and have me do little piddling finger things that I could do that he hated doing. And so I was employed in Blue Ash before Blue Ash was a city. And in 4 days, I'm going to be 83. And I'm so old, my mother and I are in the Blue Ash history book. And I want to remind you of what I remember back in the 80s, late 70s, when we had a series of inflationary pressures that were exotic, and the prime rate for short-term business loans went up to 24%. And if that wasn't injury on top of the fact that our costs were rising at an exotic rate, we had to recalculate the selling price of our product 7 times in that year. And we raised our prices 7 times in 1 year. One shouldn't have to do that. The economy is out of control. And one of the ways to control the inflation is do what the Fed did back in the late 70s, and that's bump up the interest rate. So you may see some exotic rates as compared to the less than 1% that the city saw. Another thing that concerns me is the purchase of single-family homes by large corporations and squeezing out the low net worth people who are buying or would buy inexpensive houses. There's a house in my neighborhood that I can see from my backyard on the market for over $1.5 million. And they have an offer for $1.5 million. So real estate prices are going out of reach of a lot of people who used to live in Blue Ash. And if you look at the increases in property taxes in Blue Ash, a lot of those people aren't going to be able to live here anymore. I'm surprised when I see that my property tax amount is more than I paid in South Florida for a 5-acre warehouse. And it's getting surprising. I'm fortunate I can still afford to pay for it. So your job is to think and plan ahead and see that we come through whatever it is that's on the horizon, because I don't think there are any gypsy fortune tellers around smart enough to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nord. Anyone else? You didn't hear, give us your name and address.
My name is Greg Caponari and I live at 9333 Windcrest Drive. I just have a simple question. I'd like to know what they're doing to repair the jacuzzi over at the rec center that's been closed now for 9 months. They haven't worked on it in 4. It's just sitting there. That's it.
As normally I say, we don't answer questions, but it's become a multi-$100,000 project. So it's being discussed of what to do with it.
Okay.
That's the short answer. Yeah.
All right. That's all I had.
Yeah, and if
I used it every day and I haven't been
I
able to
know.
use it in 9 months, and it's,
that, the short answer right now, we have to decide if it's a couple $100,000 budget item or not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Being no one else, we're going to move to committee reports, finance and administration. Councilman Zerwanka.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-34 by title only.
A resolution adopting a 2023 tax budget.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-34.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-35 by title only.
Providing for amendments within the 2022 annual appropriation resolution number 2021-64.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-35.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, Jamie, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next, I have a motion setting a public hearing for Thursday, August 11th, 2022 at 7:05 PM to consider approval of a concept planned unit development for the Blue and designate approximately 6.2 acres of land northwest of the intersection of Kenwood and Cooper Roads as a planned unit development PUD district.
You need a
Do
second?
do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Any discussion, folks?
What is the typical plan, David? Maybe you would be able to best answer this. What's the typical plan for communicating that out beyond the legal? I'm sure there's some legal requirement. You got to send a note to somebody or put it in an inquiry or something. Will we have this? Will this be something that shows up in our social media and?
No more than an average typical zoning process is. It is going to be on our website and what have you, but we wouldn't do any particular plan because we would treat all of them similar and the same. So
Perhaps I'm weird. I think this is a bigger deal than, for example, the proposal that we're reviewing tonight. And I would encourage the city to publicize the hearing beyond what's required or beyond standard.
Any other discussion points? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All I have, Mayor.
All right, we're going to move to planning and zoning committee. Vice Mayor Javari.
Thank you, Mayor. Jamie, can you read the resolution number 2022-36 by title only, please?
Approving a final plat for Block I of the Hickory Ridge subdivision containing 7 lots and totaling approximately 1.117 acres. The current Hamilton County Auditor's Parcel 612-0140-0021.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody?
We need a second.
Anybody? Second. Anybody has any questions on this? I think they already proposed before and we already approved and passed.
Yep.
That they're like a six or seven houses, row houses. They're creating in a 1.17 acre and looks good, and so far it looks good. So anybody has any questions?
They've torn down the old house,
Down to the-
they've put in the temporary drive or road or whatever and marked up the lots, so they're ready to go.
They did a very nice presentation and it was very thorough.
Yeah.
We got a good look at it.
Any other questions? Anything? Any comments? No. Move to adopt the resolution number 2022-36.
We've already moved. We just need to vote. Ready to vote?
Yeah, ready to vote? And
Councilwoman Schneider,
yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole, Yes. Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Mayor Sturkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
All right, we're gonna move to Public Works Committee. Councilwoman Jill Cole, chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jamie, would you please read resolution number 2022-37 by title only?
Amending Resolution 2020-54 related to the necessity and intent to appropriate various and respective interests in land for the purpose of a road improvement project, the Ham Plainfield Road roundabouts in the city of Blue Ash, Hamilton County, Ohio.
Move to adopt resolution 2022-37.
Second.
Basically, this is sort of an administrative correction regarding a small parcel that was involved, as it says, this is involved in the roundabout project. So nothing out of the ordinary. Are there any questions? Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka.
Yes.
Mayor Sirkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Jamie, please read resolution number 2022-38 by title only.
A resolution authorizing the Public Works Director to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund, TIF TIF programs, and to execute contracts as required.
Move to adopt resolution 2022-38.
Again?
This is kind of a neat program. It's a new fund that was created out of the levy, Metro levy that was passed, was it last year, Gordon? And it provides funds that we're going to apply to make infrastructure improvements that support the Metro program. Any other questions or any questions?
Good program. I'm on the board.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's terrific. It's really, and it,
It's a good program. I'm on the board.
You make it good. We're gonna make it right.
Isn't that redundant?
We're gonna make it right.
any other questions or comments? Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Sirkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Now, would you please read resolution number 2022-39 by title only?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the repair of the storm sewer pipe on the property of KOI Auto Parts, 11180 Lushek Drive and on Lushek Drive.
Move to adopt resolution number 2022-39.
Second.
Well, this is an unfortunate situation where we have, as it says, a sewer pipe that's collapsing, and because of the concern for public safety, we need to address this as an emergency measure. Gordon, would you like to add anything more to that?
Yeah, just simply, the storm sewer happens to be within a storm sewer easement. It runs through private property. It is a storm sewer easement, and it is our responsibility to maintain the storm sewer there. It happens to be pretty deep, and it's a 4-foot diameter pipe that is draining the water from Williamson as well as Cornell Road. So pretty significant, and not only to our roadway system, but also to the businesses in that area and the residents as well.
Gordon, how long is the section that's going to be repaired or collapsed or?
Yeah, so basically the area we're repairing it begins in the parking lot of KOI. There's a catch basin there. And then we'll be replacing the portion that goes all the way out to actually to Lushek, and we'll be installing a new manhole for better access so we can maintain that better. There's no manhole access from basically that catch basin all the way till the exit past Bonnie Lynn. So it's kind of a 4-foot diameter pipe. It seems big, but it's pretty tight to crawl down. So access, you want to have as much access as possible in that kind of situation.
Any other questions?
This is when it's really nice that city staff manages to get the reserves together, that when we have these kind of emergencies, it just gets done.
Nothing else. Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to move to miscellaneous business for a connectivity plan update. And that looks like Kelly's going to be leading the pack here.
Yeah, just the IT, yeah. So while they're setting that up, two quick things. First, we may need to have a discussion with the solicitor about the statute of limitations and see if we can garnish some back wages from Mr. Nord's working back in the day, and whether it was under the table or not, whether his tax returns are up to date. Secondly, Brian, Mr. Gath asked about, could we please make sure we publicize more? Just to be clear, this could be one of the most publicized pre-application processes ever. I mean, now we've entered into the formal process, we will follow the formal process, but the downtown project has been discussed. So, anyone listening may think I gave it short shrift, but maybe the neighborhood of Summit Park got about as much, but I know it's probably been discussed for 2 years. So if anyone is surprised by this, they haven't paid attention, because I know it's been in our newsletters quarterly and in the annual report and what have you. It's just as part of this process, we won't be doing anything more than usual, but it certainly is, even the developer themselves has held, I think, 3 or 4 open houses with the public. I know many of you attended, so appreciate Mr. Gath's concern, but I hope my answer didn't sound like, oh, no one's going to know anything about it. In fact, I would say anyone doesn't know about this project by now must have just moved into Blue Ash last week. So,
And that wasn't I wasn't disparaging the work that's gone on or saying that the city is doing, is derelict in any way, but rather, I just think this is a really big deal and want to make sure people follow along as we go. Many won't listen, but that doesn't mean that I don't feel an obligation to continue to say it.
So yeah, before Gordon goes, just a reminder, from time to time, we like to give an update on different things going on in the city. Traffic's always a popular one, especially with the roundabout. And I believe even council at the retreat said, hey, can we have an update sometime during the year? So here he is, Mr. Exciting Public Works Director.
Thanks, David. That's kind of painful a little bit. So David asked me to go ahead and do an update on our traffic and transportation plan. So that includes multiple modes of transportation, not only the traffic, but also pedestrian, bicycle, and also transit. So metro in regards to that. So this is going to be a little bit hard to see because it's the entire city. And one of the things I want to do is kind of go over this in a general fashion. And my intention is this is going to be prepared for PDFs that we'll have on our website. I want to have some feedback from you guys in regards to anything that might be of concern to you, or things that you guys might want further investigation on, or maybe further information on. And then once we kind of go through all that, I will prepare that and send it out in our website so that people can have that information as well. So the residents and businesses will know what our plans are. So we're going to start with our roadway plan. So basically, I have a series of a couple slides here, and want to just go over generally what we look at, and some of our thoughts on how we plan our transportation system. So we basically are breaking down our traffic into what we call average daily traffic. So we do monitoring of traffic counts. So this is a daily traffic count per vehicle per roadway system. So this is our major roadways. This is a heat map, and it's a little bit hard to see there, but generally the lower the amount of traffic is green, it goes up to the higher amount of traffic, which is red. So it progresses through the colors that way. Most of our roadways, our major roadways, are in the yellow range, so about 20,000 vehicles per day. And that's significant. So just to kind of give you for instance, Cross County is about 54,000 a day. So That's a major highway. 71 is about 143,000 vehicles per day. And that's your average annual traffic, average daily traffic over an annual period. So what we do with this information is we look for changes, so significant changes based on circumstances like the COVID issues. We saw our average daily rates drop about 45% across the city. And that was generally seen across the region. Some areas greater, some areas less so. But that was a general significant impact to us. Things have bounced back significantly. Some things have changed a little bit, but generally the patterns have come back, not 100% to where they used to be pre-COVID, but they have come back significantly. And also we look at, after we do major projects, we want to re-look and examine the impacts of our changes, the modifications we've done. For instance, when we built the connector at Malsbury to Kenwood, when we extended that through, there was no traffic initially, obviously, because it was a cul-de-sac street. Once we extended it through, that first year, we had about just over 1,000 trips a day, which is not very significant from a traffic perspective. That's anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 is what you would see in a residential neighborhood, like on a through street, not on a cul-de-sac street. But we're already in excess of 3,500 a day on Malsbury, which means people are using it as a connection between our downtown area, Reed-Hartman, and even the new developments at the Daventry and so forth in the neighborhoods at Summit Park. We also use this to look at some of our underutilized assets. So Osborne Boulevard being one of them. We have about 1,700 trips per day on that street. It's very low. That's like I said, more of like a residential amount of traffic, which is pretty low for a commercial street. And when we look at those things, we analyze, what do we want to do with that as a future asset? Because it takes money to maintain it and time and effort. So some of the other things we look at is we look at accident data. So most of our accidents happen at our intersections and then on the busier streets. We take that information and then see if there's actual projects that need to be done for us to focus on in the future. So some of the things we have on here for shorter term projects, obviously number one down here, this is the Plainfield and Hunt corridor that we're currently working on. That's the roundabout project. And then the more medium term projects over the next 2 to 5 years, some of the things that we're recommending is looking at the Glendale-Milford corridor and Pfeiffer corridor. So that's our next highest accident rate area, mostly because of commuter traffic. But that's an area that we have done some study on, and it's something that we'll want to look at in the future because of its important connection to the interstate and to our commercial area and the Summit Park District. So as that's developing more, we're going to want to take a look at how that functions and does it need improvement? And if so, what are those options? And then going out further, some of the things we're looking at, and this I have in here in the long term, which is 5 years and more. I have one of these, which could have happened much sooner than 5 years. So for instance, the Grooms Road connector. So that would be the connection road between Reed-Hartman and Grooms Road for the purposes of redeveloping the east side of the former P&G campus. So that is something that may accelerate. And we hope that it accelerates based on, the economic development driver. So with that information, some of the projects that we want to look at is getting into our traffic signals. So our traffic signals are the system that we have or had currently was called a loop system. So basically we have a series of connected traffic signals that work as a coordinated system. And those are color coded here. So we have multiple systems. So we have the Reed-Hartman South. We had previously the Reed-Hartman North, and I'll describe how that hasn't been improved. We have Cornell Road. We have Glendale-Milford Pfeiffer corridor, and then we have the downtown corridor. And those are loop systems. So basically, those are based on a timed traffic plan based on actual traffic data. And so during the workday, the morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour, it takes that traffic, moves it in the morning, and then moves it out in the afternoon. It's based on actual traffic plan to move that traffic through. It's less able to change with changing circumstances. So when COVID hit, those plans don't change. So it's a little bit of an antiquated system and something that we're advancing and moving away from. So one of the projects that we were able to work on in the past couple of years when we did the work up on Reed-Hartman Highway, we expanded Reed-Hartman Highway because of Ensemble coming in. One of the things that we started there was called a central system. And basically what the central system does is it ties in all of our traffic signals. So the first part is in yellow here. It goes from 275 on the north all the way down to Glendale Milford Road. And that's a fiber optic system. So this is the modern version of what we have currently and what we're moving toward. So what that does is give us real-time traffic information. It allows an adaptive system. So this is all part of the new modules we're putting in our traffic control systems. It adapts to real-time traffic loads. So basically, a few years ago, we had an incident on 275 where there was an accident. They diverted all the eastbound traffic down Reed-Hartman Highway. And as you can imagine, we can't accommodate that. We have a great roadway system, but that's just more traffic than our system is designed to accommodate. What this new system will do is it's called adaptive. So it will adapt after a couple cycles of the traffic signals. It starts seeing all this additional traffic and it'll change the plan. So it is a smart and adaptive system. One of the things that, so that's the future of transportation traffic signal coordination. And it will also set us up for smart infrastructure going forward. So the fiber optics will allow us to adapt to the new systems that are coming online. You've heard of, obviously the self-driving vehicles, but there's also things as smart vehicles and smart infrastructure. So that's infrastructure that talks to vehicles. So that as vehicles are coming through, it can give them information on traffic, on changing the signals as vehicles are coming through, all in an effort to reduce congestion, improve safety, and reduce gas usage. We currently have 46 signalized intersections. That includes the highway traffic signals. So they are on our system. And one of the projects that we'll be submitting for as part of the Metro grant is to complete a significant portion of the south part of our central system. So that's to install new fiber optics and tie in our south portion all the way through to the roundabouts down at Plainfield and Hunt, and then along the Glendale Milford and Pfeiffer corridor. So leads me to this slide here. And this is one of the things I know is very important to many of you. It's very important to many of our residents. And I think this is something that is a great amenity for us, which is our connectivity plan. So this is for biking. This is also for pedestrian connectivity and also for transit. So transit, these symbols here, these are the transit locations in the city currently. The new levy that Metro had passed has increased some of the Metro access to our city to help with some of the job growth that we have in the city. And a part of that is having a good pedestrian network so that people who are using Metro have the ability to go to their next destination. So typically they like to see that within a half a mile of their actual their bus location. And you can see the orange on here is our actual existing pedestrian connectivity network. So this is all of our sidewalks. Some of them are within subdivisions. The city's plan has always been to improve connectivity on our major roadways. So this is connecting our communities to our amenities, or our business community to our amenities. And so that's some of the projects that we've been working on over several years. And we have a lot more to do, but a lot of it has been completed. And some of them have been completed as part of some of the development projects that have been done. So we'll just kind of go through some of the ones that we've done here recently. You'll see, obviously, the neighborhoods at Summit Park. Those have been installed as part of that development project. And then also you see here, this is Alliance Road. And while that is not a sidewalk, that is a wide roadway. One of the things that we've done on some of these streets that are less conducive to pedestrian connectivity, longer trips and less residential. We've restriped the roads when we repaved them to allow for a bike lane. So for instance, Malsbury Road, when we repaved that road, we narrowed the lanes because the lanes were very wide. So we were able to not have to pave more, but we were able to restripe them to allow for a bike lane on both sides of the road. And you will actually see there are bicyclists that use Malsbury to connect to the downtown area or from the downtown area to Summit Park. It's a great easy ride down through there. And those wide shoulders make it much safer for bicyclists. And so we did that also when we recently repaved Alliance Road. So Alliance Road, we restriped it, narrower travel lanes and wider shoulders. So the shoulders are a minimum of 4 feet, and typically between 4 and 5 feet wide. And these projects are not in any particular order of when we want to do them, but they are projects that we've identified as potential future projects. And these are projects in the medium term. So between 2 and 5 years, we think these would be ones that would be worthwhile to pursue. One is a Grooms Road sidewalk. So currently, Grooms Road, the connection between the sports center and Cornell Road is a wide shoulder. It used to be a bike lane on one side. You actually can't have two-way travel on one side of the road, so we kind of did away with that as far as a bike lane. You have to have one either on each side or a 10-foot wide path for two-way traffic. So we've eliminated that, calling that a bike lane, even though it is a wide shoulder. We also have on here McKinley. So number 3 here, this would be a McKinley as a sidewalk or some other type of improvement for connectivity between Creek Road and Glendale Milford Road. We also have on here Cornell Park Drive, number 4 up here. And that is obviously mostly a business corridor, but with some of the activity with Chick-fil-A and some of the other improvements to some of the businesses up there, we thought that could be a good pedestrian corridor to bring some of the business folks to that business area. We also have the Hunt Road sidewalk extension to Reading. So this is there is a Hunt Road sidewalk that ends at Blue Wing Terrace, and this would be this project would extend it to our border with Reading. Ideally, it would be a project working in conjunction with Reading to continue it to Waxwing within Reading to help improve that corridor. So that's one that I think it's technically a little bit more challenging, just because you have a creek on one side and a hillside on the other side. So from a constructability, that's a little bit more challenging project, but I think that would be a good connection as well. And then we also have number 6 here. We already have sidewalk on the west side of Reed-Hartman Highway, but we do have a lot of pedestrians that actually walk on the east side. So between Creek Road and Glendale Milford Road, this would be a new sidewalk separated back from Reed-Hartman Highway to connect Creek Road to Glendale Milford Road on the east side. And what that would do would be connecting a lot of the hotel area from Creek and allow them access down to Glendale Milford Road, to the parks, businesses, and so forth. It would be the reason behind that one. And then for longer term projects, we have the Osborne Road sidewalk. So right here, number 7, Osborne sidewalk actually goes from Ilmenau to Kenwood Road. This would be the section that would go from Reed Hartman to Ilmenau along Osborne, the south side. So this is over by DeBella's, and then the future development. There's a new business looking to come in there. So this would finish that section. And then we have, this has been on our connectivity list for a long time. This is if it ever happens, this would be a good thing for the city. So this is a rails to trail corridor. So if there was ever a reason that the railroad was to discontinue its service here, this would be converting the railroad to a bikeway or some type of connectivity pathway. So that's always on the plan. That's been in the plans before, for many years before I've been here. And so it's just one of those things of opportunity. So if that was ever to be an issue and those services were to discontinue, that would be a fantastic reuse of that property. And then finally, the Grooms Road connector. This would be connecting Reed Hartman and Grooms Road along with that roadway project. So you could have better pedestrian connectivity to the sports center and Reed Hartman Highway. And so those are just some of the projects that we were thinking about. So I'd like to open that up to you guys. If you guys have any thoughts on any of those projects, if you have any suggestions. I know I threw a bunch of stuff at you guys. And then, so I'm open to anything, or if you guys want to take time to think about it, it's always fine to get back with me as well.
I do have a quick question on when we're looking at adding I guess there are sidewalks along some of the major roads. Are those going to be designed enough that they're wide enough to accommodate bicycles as well, or is it just for pedestrian traffic?
Yeah, so our typical is 8 feet wide. So to have two-way bicycle traffic, like as a bikeway, the typical standard is they like to do 10 feet wide. We kind of compromise between our minimum of 5 foot wide sidewalks and 10 foot. We try to do about 8 foot wide in most instances. Just because we do have bicycle traffic, we don't have necessarily dedicated bikeways, but we do allow bicycles on all of our pathway connections. So typically 8 feet.
The 8 feet ones, but not the narrower ones. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
we typically so. It also depends on where the location
Like on
is.
Cooper Road, from the safety center to downtown.
Yeah, so that it depends. So if we were to go from here to downtown, I know a lot of the residents like to have the grass strip. Whereas downtown, we did the sidewalks all the way to the back of curb. So that's really kind of a preference thing, and also the limits of the right of way. So the existing right of way kind of dictates many of the projects that we do. So it could be a limitation. So some of the easier projects are ones that we can build within the right of way.
One little stint that I think I've brought this up over time. Employees at Ethicon have requested that their sidewalk ends, is that McKinley on the backside? Extend it out to the park at some point in time. And I figure we're gonna have to repave that at some point in time too. Maybe it's a project, so.
Yeah, it could be. We do have on here the McKinley sidewalk. So that would be something that we would try to do in conjunction to a roadway project.
And the annual paving of the roads, do you have in the budget sidewalks as well? We just, with the downtown area and all those sidewalks being redone, what's kind of the time frame for them meeting?
Yeah, hopefully a long time. The typical expected life of concrete sidewalks is 40 years. And we've changed our design compared to how we used to do them. So we try to build them in a fashion that will make them last as long as possible, because we know it's the initial investment is significant. And so we try to make sure that they're engineered properly, and we make sure they're built correctly. And you may see us come forward from time to time, be like, yeah, we're repairing or replacing some sidewalks that were done in previous years. That's for a variety of reasons, but we've learned from a lot of those instances and try to make sure we build them to last a long time.
Their annual repair, like in neighborhoods and things like that we own.
So we do actually include about $70,000 to $90,000 in the annual budget on a regular basis for sidewalk repairs and those kind of things that we do with our own in-house staff.
Mr. Perry, I get excited about this. I don't know if I was the only one that played SimCity, wasted his youth playing it and watching the streets go different colors and whatnot. I was fascinated by the heat map that you showed. I wonder though, before you publish that, whether you want to consider a different color scheme. Obviously, 126 is designed for a much higher capacity than other roads, but I wonder maybe it's a different map altogether. But I'd be really interested in knowing how our traffic loads compared to the design capacity of those loads or those roads. I mean, 20,000 cars on Kenwood Road is different than 20,000 cars somewhere else. So I see red and immediately I think, oh, that's bad. But no, maybe that's just fine. What work? One of the things that I've noticed on the connectivity plan, especially, is that sometimes the terminuses of these projects kind of end awkwardly, or because I think the intersections are probably a lot more expensive to fix or to get through. How are we dealing with those, or is there a plan? What do you need to kind of finish off some of those things?
So it depends on the situation. So for instance, I know you've brought to me a couple times about the intersection of Cornell and Kenwood because of some of the constituents in your region. You know, some of those things depend on how much right of way we have, how easy that it is to achieve the project in relation to, like, for instance, the gas station on that corner. You know, sometimes there's a limitation of space, and you know, it may conflict with the business's expectations. So those are things that all have to be worked through. Anything can be built, and it's just a matter of, you know, how you get through that process. And so you know, I like to have feedback from you guys and from, you know, the constituents of, you know, instances like that, because that's a much smaller project. It's not like doing $1 million sidewalk project. It may be complex because you're dealing with the business owners or what have you, or the actual logistics of how that intersection is designed. But those things, you know, we're looking at the bigger projects, so trying to connect longer areas. So those infill projects, I would call them, of making the final connection at some of those intersections. You know, I kind of need feedback from folks.
Yeah, and I think I think that it would naturally be that way, right? It would be different. It's not as glamorous, you know, to get the last 50 feet of something or an intersection, as opposed to saying, hey, we got a sidewalk all the way up and down Glenville Milford or something. So that's one that you mentioned that is important to me.
Let me just add to that. Put it in perspective though. When we started this process about 20 years ago, it was one of my first projects I worked on as the assistant city manager. Just so everyone understands the big picture of what I'm trying to say, and then I'll go back to the small picture. The projects we have left are the most difficult ones, okay? So over 20 years, we picked off all the easy ones, the ones that make sense and what have you. So that's in the rationale behind all those is we didn't spend a lot of time, you know, asking public input and what have you. We just kind of said we could do a brief analysis, sometimes anecdotally, as to, well, you know, we can see there's some use of people who are going to come through here and there's going to be return on an investment and per linear foot and what have you, this makes some sense. And so we would just make those judgment calls. There were a number of years, there were gaps all up and down Reed-Hartman Highway, but we eventually got it connected. So what you're down to are some ones we want to finish, but they don't have nearly the bang for the buck or the usage for it. And so these just get a little harder every year to kind of say, yeah, that's the one we'll go with because we're doing something else nearby and what have you. So I know that sounds a bit wonky, but that's how we got through that process through the years. So what you're left with are a few, I know one down on Cooper Road, we get that question on, when are we going to get around to that? Well, we haven't coordinated with Reading yet. They're not ready. There's one apartment building that might use it, but do we really have a lot of traffic going from there all the way to Hunt Road, which isn't the most pedestrian friendly neighborhood in front of Kroger's and Kohl's and all that. So you start making those type of just judgment things. It's not a very scientific one. And so that's a long answer saying, yeah, it just depends.
And it looks like, if you went back to a blank slate, you've picked all the good ones. Like you said, the really high traffic ones. Let's get our big office populations to be able to walk to parks and lunches and our residential areas to be able to walk to the parks and the rec center and those things. One of the things I've said to Mr. Perry is that especially that silly crosswalk at Speedway is a major route for the young kids in Hazelwood and in those neighborhoods across the street. There's just no way to safely get there. And so they do all kinds of crazy things getting across Kenwood Road. And some of these long stretches, the value of them becomes infinitely higher when they terminate well. I wouldn't take a young kid on Malsbury just because getting across the highway is difficult if you're going west because there's no cross, So those little things may make it. So just how do you move those up, or how do we give attention to those is my question. Cool.
It seems like there is a decent amount of pedestrian traffic on Hunt, though, or I think it's maybe between the Peppermill neighborhood and people, I think, walking to synagogue. And, I probably should look at the plan and see, but, I've always been concerned people kind of randomly cross there and walk through the parking lot. It doesn't seem like the best idea. Is that the intention of that new sidewalk along or Plainfield there, that there will be a good place for people to walk and cross?
Along Hunt or?
Along Plainfield, I guess they're coming the end of Reed-Hartman.
Okay.
When it
so-
turns into Plainfield, kind of by
Yeah.
where the old, where Kohl's is, in
Yeah,
front of
so-
the Taco Bell and.
Yeah, so part of our project, and I'll just throw this up there. So part of our project is to add sidewalks where there haven't been in the past. So we're actually going to improve sidewalk connectivity as part of this project. But from Peppermill on both sides of Plainfield to the Hunt intersection. And this will connect into the existing system that was already there. So the overpass already has sidewalks. And then we have obviously the new sidewalks on the north side of Hunt Road that go down to Blue Wing. So those will all be improved. And then of course there's crosswalks at all the roundabouts and at the signalized intersections as well.
The only quick thing I had is I said, and this is a personal preference, I'd prefer that we finish some connectivity like Hunt Road versus doing a second sidewalk on the east side. That's my only comment. I think this has been wonderful. And you can get almost anywhere in the city from wherever you start, one way or another safely. And it's been really fun to watch it.
I think also prioritizing newer projects as opposed to just like ripping up a sidewalk that already exists to put down a new one, because you're not netting anything out of that one.
Just this is great, the connectivity, the walkability, we've gone from auto-centric cities. We're trying to change the infrastructure that's been there for decades, which is a challenge. So I guess this is more of a comment, just not much we may be able to do about it. But the downtown area, particularly some of the older buildings that have been there for a long time, we've made it very pedestrian friendly to walk down Kenwood, Cooper. But then when you come to the buildings, particularly Blue Ash Crossings, the strip mall where Walgreens is, it's not pedestrian friendly to get to the building. And walking around with a stroller now, it's become more apparent to me because I'm worried more about my child than I was, just as an adult walking. But it is challenging. The only way to get into Blue Ash Crossings is to walk in through where the cars go in, or all the way around on the edges, which only one of them is accessible with a ramp all the way on the one edge. So just making that comment, throwing it out there that I don't know what options we have, what we can do to make it more accessible, but
Well, I think that highlights why we started the downtown plan 10 years ago. And we've got maybe one development that's going to become more pedestrian oriented.
Mhm.
But we recognize that, yeah, within our public realm, we can do as much pedestrian connection as we want, but still within the private realm. If Walgreens doesn't want to build a sidewalk on there, and it may actually behoove them not to. From a liability standpoint.
Development.
Yeah. Parking's out front, but the new design standards are push the buildings closer to the edge of the road for that reason, put parking behind. It's just going to take time to transition to that, and some people aren't going to like it. They still want parking up front. So there's always that competing value, and that's why we started that visioning 10 plus years ago.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The only other thing I'll add, Mayor, and the miscellaneous is just, I was going to say Chief Knowles' mother passed away recently, so keep him and his family in your thoughts. But unfortunately, we've had two other, Officer Rockwell and Scott Kincaid, our golf superintendent, both of their mothers passed away within the last 2 days. So just keep them in your thoughts. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, Julie, Rachel, Sherry, Jamie,
Nothing, thank you.
Gordon, have you talked enough?
I've used all my words. Thank you.
Brian?
I have a couple words. First of all, I think Gordon's presentation tonight was enthralling. So I appreciate it. Also, just want to thank everybody for their support. If you attended and or were involved in some way in the 4th of July Red, White, and Blue Ash event, it was a very good one this year. And we had 80,000 people estimated on site. And I don't believe we had a single arrest or many altercations at all. So it was a very calm crowd. And just wanted to pass along credit to all the departments that were involved. It's most certainly our Super Bowl night, and we feel like we're on stage for the region, and you can see it in our staff and just their great attitudes that they have when they're out there. So I'm very happy about the way the 4th went this year. And then to address the whirlpool, which even before Mr. Caponeri came today, I'd actually planned to address it. But to bring up, Mark, to your point, we have found that project is a lot more intense than what we originally thought. If you remember, we actually came to you a couple months ago and asked for about $30,000 for what we thought was a pretty simple remedy. Unfortunately, after that was put in place, we found additional issues. We've studied it pretty well with facilities maintenance, had a couple contractors out. It's going to be a large project. So what we'd like to do is actually consider it for a 2023 project, because we need to wrap our brains around the usage of the hot tub. I mean, Mr. Caponeri, of course, is he's absolutely right. He's in there all the time. But unfortunately, it is one of our least used amenities. I'm not saying it doesn't have value or it's not worth replacing, but we probably need to study that a little bit before we just jump right in. And I know that the space actually needs a new HVAC system as well. So that compiles onto it. And that was part of the CIP in the first place, regardless of this issue that we're having with the whirlpool itself. So it'll be a significant one and should be one that we should consider for 2023. If you have any comments or thoughts or would like to know more details, of course, stop in. I can fill you in on all the boring details with the piping and all the actual issues that we are having, and can explain the complexities of it. And then actually I wanted to say, Nicholas, great job. For you to come up here as a young man and speak in front of a group like this, that was impressive. So Dad, you should be proud. Great job and good luck with your project. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Counselor Pacheco.
I would just say I love Gordon's presentation too. My only suggestion next time is don't turn the lights off.
Wow. Wow.
Why, did you fall asleep?
It was in.
I beg your pardon.
He was trying.
Gordon clearly planned it that way, as he does so well, because he wanted to show the graphics and how that green light really worked with the light off. So that was very impressive, Gordon. Thank you. I take back what I said. You should turn the lights off every time you present.
It's a tough crowd.
It was a rough crowd. Jill.
Yes, just a couple of things. Nicholas, again, it was wonderful to hear about the project. I was PTO president at a couple of schools in the district, and, we always had that where someone would start a beautiful garden, and then, you need somebody to come along sometimes and take care of it and bring it back to what it was intended. So best of luck with it, and thanks for being here to share it. And Gordon, I loved your presentation. When I talked to you on the phone, I said, I am so excited, and this is true. I love the connectivity plan. It's a really passion of mine, so just stay strong. Stay strong.
You don't have to tell him.
And finally, again, just to echo the fourth celebration was absolutely wonderful. It was just amazing again to have all those people there and no issues with the rest. And I just think it's a wonderful thing that we do for 110 of our best friends that don't live in Blue Ash, I guess. But it's a great event, and well done to everyone that participated. That's all.
Jeff.
Just in addition to what everybody else said, compliments to the fire department on our Independence Day celebration to make sure that the fireworks were not followed by an actual big fire behind there. They got on top of that pretty quick. So we just lost a little grass and nothing else from what I understand. So compliments to the fire department for a quick response.
Lee.
My compliments go to Rachel and the administration. On this
Great job.
wonderful new book. It's a lot of nice photos of the city all the way around, and it was very well done. It is available to the public, from what I understand, $20 a piece. Yes. So feel free to, if you're interested in one of these, to contact the city. Very nice job. And again, my compliments to Brian and administration on 4th of July. Wonderful. It was very well organized. And given the fact that we have a lot of new employees and staff, it just meshed very well. So nice job.
Okay.
I do have something tonight about the community reinvestment area. So it's the Blue Ash Residential Property Tax Abatement Program. So I'm going to kind of give some background to refresh your memory, but it makes it property owners in the R3 district. If you spend $50,000 or more on your property, there's a tax abatement on the increased value for 10 years. And for single family homes, it's 100%. For multifamily homes, it's 50% of the increased value. We've had the program for 8 years now. And it's been the same. There's been no changes over those 8 years. I think that it's made a lot of improvements in the area around the downtown that it was intended to do. There's a lot of tear downs and new builds. Of course, I walk every day around there, and for the most part, they fit in nicely. They look great. They've brought a lot. The gentleman earlier mentioned it's brought up property values, not just because of CRA, of course, the housing market is doing very well right now. So what I'm asking tonight is not a vote, but just that we have the opportunity to consider this program if there's any changes that we might want to make to it. So the last 2 council retreats this year and 2 years prior, administration recommended that we might want to look at it to see if there's any changes. In both years, we said, no, it's fine. Let's keep going. So I wanted to bring this back up that I think, with the program going that long, that it would be in our best interest and our obligation to take a look at this program and hear what the recommendation might be. Do we keep it the same? If so, we're on our way. But if not, I'd like to hear, are there recommendations to maybe increase the area that we're doing this, decrease it, maybe change the length of time, or cap it at a certain value, dollar amount, and whether your home, you achieve that in 4 years or you achieve it in 8, it's the same value for everybody. But I guess, so my motion for tonight is that I ask administration to bring council recommendations on how the program should be adjusted or modified to achieve the most benefit for the city and align with our goals of revitalization and reinvestment in the downtown area.
Were you wanting a vote or just a head nod?
I think we just need a head nod, right? A majority that say, yes, administration can spend time on this to bring recommendations to us.
Yeah, I think an informal head nod, yes. But I think from our standpoint, we would want to make sure that most of you want us to spend time and energy on it. If you're pretty split and not sure, then, we wouldn't want to spend a whole lot of time and energy on it. If you're saying, nah, I'm not ready. So it can be a formal vote, a head nod, but I'd like most of you to like it, or if you're not ready, then say, let me think about it, and then have a discussion in a future miscellaneous. So
I think with the program, the area that I had questioned was, I know that a lot of the area is very successful. There are a lot of participants, but that there are certain pockets where there's not much activity. At least that was my understanding. Maybe that was an incorrect understanding. But looking at where it's not going as well as the others, that would be what I would be curious about. But of course, there may be higher priorities than that at this time.
It is just for last 7 or 8 years I've been here, and things going right. Do you think that need to be changed? Is that why you're putting the proposal?
I would like to get a little bit more information and hear what administration thinks. Look into some of the data and see, is it great the way it is? Is there still more benefit from keeping it the exact same way? Or would we benefit more from changing the geographical area that is included and maybe add another street? Or I think it has to be contiguous. Is there opportunity to even create a second area somewhere in Blue Ash that we need to have some reinvestment like we've had downtown? So I just think that, any program you need to look at every so often to see and reevaluate and see how it's going, to see if adjustments need made. And I think, we're going on 9 years. I think it's time.
Do I recall that we need the school system to buy in on this? No.
I'll give a little historical perspective. When we started this, and it's been a while, it was to bring up a lot of our housing stock in the downtown area. Okay. And to your point, yes, contiguous areas. And to Jill's point, it is working in certain pockets, but not in others. And maybe when you talk about contiguous area, maybe you can subtract where it's been successful. Maybe you add on where you want to go. Maybe that's part of the discussion. But it has been successful. I will give you that. And maybe it is time to review. So
I'm in favor of it, though. If we could alter a little wording, if we could have it as an options-based report presented to us rather than recommendations, because if you ask somebody to research an issue and provide recommendations, you're asking them to filter out a lot of options and send you something that's zoned in on 1 or 2 things. Whereas if we ask them to send us information with options, then we have a list of options in front of us that we can work from. That would be my preference.
I think your points are well made. I too felt that it was time to look at this. One of my concerns, or one of my thoughts has been, at some point, that development will become self-sustaining, and the desire to get into those areas won't need to be subsidized. I think as I asked around about that in preparation for the retreat, and then heard from you all about that, I'm willing to wait another year, but I do think the time is coming, and whether it's now or in another year, it's coming close.
one of the other things we need to understand, it's really not driven by the city. It's really driven by the real estate market, okay? Realtors and developers and builders, okay? And given the fact that interest rates are now starting to creep up, it's picked up speed up until this last year or so. Now it's going to probably slow down. So we need to understand all of those factors going into this.
I love the program. I think it's been absolutely wonderful. I think the one thing that maybe needs to be looked at is maybe there's a maximum benefit that we could look at and say, hey, if you're going to build a McMansion, everything fancy, everything, there may be a point where, you get enough benefit and then you're on your own.
Well, and another thing I'd like to learn more about too is whether like the tear down loophole could be dealt with. This was designed for somebody, let's say, who has a $300,000 home to then add $100,000 worth of value and get the abatement on that $100,000 worth of value. But what some people are doing is then they're tearing down the whole home. Then they go in for the abatement, and now, $350,000 of their $400,000 home is abated. That kind of loophole, I'm not a big fan of.
And something I wanted to add was, on our website, we say this program stimulates revitalization, retains residents, and attracts new homeowners. I'd be interested, are we retaining homeowners, or is the property selling, being torn down? The residents we had, they sold their home, they're leaving, and it's new folks coming in.
So it's at the risk of stopping the conversation.
Please do.
I mean, yeah. So what I hear most people say, hey, I'm happy to look at it. So you can continue debating it if you want, but I think I see most people saying, yeah, let's just start doing it. So we'll just give you an overview and an assessment of where things are. And then from there, it'll be several meetings. It won't be done anytime soon. And it'll just take you time to work through all these issues. So that's good enough for me. And if
Thanks.
I have.
Mr. Cruz, if you think Nicolash's report and presentation tonight was impressive, wait till you see the fly through that he does of the video of the garden. It reminded me of what we just did at Town Square. So I mean, he's even got little people in there. I don't know what magic that was, but well done, sir. And I hope others will join me in supporting your project. Big thanks to everybody who made Red, White, and Blue Ash and a success, and that's probably everybody. Brian gets to wear the most badges maybe, but everybody else I know works just as hard to make that happen. I've gotten a lot of emails recently, and maybe this is, can't talk about the content of it, but Sherry, I know your department's been doing a lot in preparing for the state auditor's report, and that work continues to go well, and thank you for that hard work. Not enthralling, I imagine. Even Brian might not find that just engrossing to do. So thank you for being the kind of person who does that well. And I want to add to Mr. Zawonka's comments. The book is amazing and ought to be required ownership for every retailer, for every realtor in the area. They ought to be passing that out to everybody who's looking to move in to the region and tell them why they should be choosing Blue Ash as their new home.
Where?
Yes, sir, thank you. I have a couple of things just want to mention. Number one is that traffic. Since we have our roundabout going on Paper Mill and Hunt Road and Plainfield Road, the traffic increased into our Paper Mill farm to go back and forward. So I want to request the police officers, Scott or Jason, anybody can put down that traffic control signs to put it down in the Paper Mill lane. It will be helpful. That's number one. Number two, Rachel did a great job creating the book. It's just amazing pictures, and it's very nice. Another thing that I was talking to you, whether it is a good thing to talk or not, I do not know. But since we're going through these companies and there are people working, their employees working through the home, and we getting reducing our income coming in, is there any possibility that we can create some kind of incentive for employer to tell them to bring the employee to work at the premises. I think there's nothing wrong with it because if you give it to them and they say, hey, everybody has to come to work. So it depends upon how bad the situation comes, and from that bad situation, how much loss I'm talking about at the end of the year. If that comes out very much, then you can put down a certain percentage of the loss we taking, give them, the employer, that incentive to bring all the people working in. So that's just a suggestion, and think about it. The second thing is, oh, 4th of July. For those tanks, it was just amazing. There was no accident, just, you cannot believe that. When you hear anything from the parade to in Chicago, and things going on all over everywhere. And then we are here 100%, no accidents, no nothing. That goes to the administration, Brian and everybody, congratulations and great job, that's for sure. And then our past Councilman Joe Lead, I was talking to him, he said hello to everyone since he was sick, and he's getting not better. He's getting for one after another one, but he's thinking of all of us also. That's about it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Quickly, thank you, Rachel, for the book, Nicholas for being here. Condolences to several members of the Blash family who lost family members this week. Had a really nice story about the 4th, which was fantastic, and everybody involved with that did a great job. It was a blast. Byron Foster wrote Chief Nolan, also copied me on it. He was with a family member who had a stroke and had difficulty with mobility, and they were leaving the fireworks at the end, and one of the policemen or policewomen, I don't know who it was, saw them, got a card over to them, got them to the street, got the car that was picking them up, moved around the traffic to put the stroke victim into the car and get him out of there in a timely manner. And one of the things with stroke, when people get tired, it gets much more hard to be mobile.
Yeah.
He wrote this glowing letter to Chief Nolan. I just wanted to pass on. Those are the little things that our police and fire department do and we don't think about. And he's told 400 people already, I swear. It was just a really nice story. And he was over the top happy that he had been treated with such dignity. And so that was that. One more thing we're having, I was reached out to by Jason, and I don't know his last name, who's the Higher Gravity owner, parking in front of the approach. So when the approach started, the residents were allowed to decide, did they want to buy a parking permit for outside or underneath the parking facility they have in the back toward the south side. They didn't have to purchase one. They were allowed to just free for all it if they wanted to. That has changed. The new management company forces them to buy a parking permit. They can either pay $35 a month to park on the top or $65 a month to park underneath, which means there's no saving money anymore by parking elsewhere. So I talked to Brian about this and he came up with a couple really good ideas immediately. One would be instead of letting them take all the spots on the street on Summit Parkway, I think that is. Either we don't let them park in there overnight or we make it a 3 or whatever hour limit so that the businesses and the people enjoying the park can have some parking spaces. And when we have Sugar and Spice come, that's a pretty busy business, especially obviously. I mean, they may only be morning to lunch, but my concern is the residents are using it for convenience. They're not saving any money anymore. So we're not asking them to pay any extra to buy a parking pass. They have to. When their lease is up, they have to choose a parking spot inside or top or lower level. So I would like us to consider making a change on the parking along that street so that people cannot come at 5 o'clock on Friday and leave their car right in front of Higher Gravity for 3 days. That's all I have.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I don't know how, if Brian and David and Kelly and everything want to talk about it, and Gordon, figure out if it's reasonable, if we can do it, how to do it. But I think it's going to be more and more of a problem. And when I walk at night, I mean, all those spaces, and I know from some of the residents that live there that they park right along the street all the time because it's just a little easier to get to their apartment. So that's all I have. Moving on, we're going to do an executive session for property acquisition to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest, and also for personnel matters to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
So move.
Second. Now we need a Jamie call the roll.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Gath,
Yes.
Mayor Cirkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.